Hey, I'm Courtney Waterman, your tutor. Lover of anime, manga, and math. And you just tuned into another session of Tutor Me Sempai. Welcome back, everyone. Today we're jumping into a 12th grade topic, finding both of your formulas of your arithmetic sequence given only 2 terms. Now, if you're new to my channel, I'll be putting time codes in for this video in the description box below, so use that to skip ahead to whatever part of the video you think is most interesting. As always, if you have any questions about what you see today, or even your homework, you can always put in the comment box below, or visit my Facebook page at Tutor Me Sempai and tell me all about it there. At the end of the video, I'll be linking my 12th grade playlist, in which I cover a lot more topics, so if you're interested in that, make sure you stay tuned. This video is only going to have one part, so leave a like, smash subscribe, and let's get started. Recently on this channel, we've been focusing heavily on arithmetic sequences and both of its formulas. And we have covered quite a bit on that topic, so if you've been following along, you should be pretty familiar with it by now. However, if you hadn't seen my previous videos on these topics, you can find them all right up here. But for this video, we want to throw one more curveball before we move on to a different topic. And that's going to be, how do we find both of our explicit and recursive formulas when we're only given 2 terms of our arithmetic sequences? So let's jump into our example for today and see exactly how we're going to go about doing this. As you see here, we only have 2 terms. We have our 18th term and we have our 38th term. And we want to find both the explicit and the recursive formula for this arithmetic sequence. Well, the first thing I would recommend doing when you're getting used to a topic like this is to continue to practice your formulas, your general formulas without any numbers plugged in, so you know exactly how they look. So write those out. If you're more familiar, you don't necessarily have to do this first step, but if you're really starting to get used to and get into your arithmetic sequences, write your formula out first. So you have a roadmap of where you're trying to go by having it there for you. You have somewhere you're aiming towards as you're solving this question. So our explicit formula is going to be a sub n equals a sub 1 plus our d times n minus 1. That's our explicit. And our recursive is going to be a sub 1 is going to be some number, let's say k, and our sequence is a sub n equals a sub n minus 1 plus d. This is our pair for our recursive formula. Once again, if you're pretty familiar with this at this point in time, you don't have to do this first step. But if you're still getting used to arithmetic sequences and their formulas, doing this is just a little bit extra practice. Now, the true first step for this particular question would be to jump into some subtraction. Now, we have a few things we can subtract, and we have a few things that we will subtract. The first thing we're going to subtract is the values of our 2 terms. So we have an 18th term and our 38th term. And our 18th term is 3,362, while our 38th term is 7,362. We want to subtract our smaller term from our larger term. So we're going to have 7,362 subtracting 3,362. And when we do that, we get 4,000. But why do we want to subtract these 2 terms? Well, remember, this is an arithmetic sequence, and our arithmetic sequence means that we're going to be adding a fixed number to each term as you're going down the sequence. And if we're starting at 18 and we're ending at 38, we want to figure out the total value that was added to 18 to get here. And that's what this is. 4,000 is what we added totally as we're making our hops from 18 to 38. Now we just need to figure out how many hops it took to get from 18 to 38. And to do that, we're going to do a little bit more subtraction. Our 38 minus 18. We're going to look at the ends here. So our 38 minus 18 will give us the number of hops it took to get from our smaller one to our larger one. And this is going to be 20. Now that we have both of these, we can divide our 4,000, our total distance, our total value that was added to our 18, by 20, the number of hops it took to get from 18 to 38. And by doing that, we're going to have 4,000 over 20 gives us 200. That means each individual hop is going to add 200 to our previous value. So starting at 18, we're going to be moving 1 and adding 200 to our value. Move another one, add 200 to that value until we get all the way to 38. This is going to be our D. Now at this point in time, this question is no different from the questions we covered in my previous 2 videos. Once again, if you hadn't seen those videos, they're going to be right up there. But just like in those videos, we're going to be moving on to our explicit formula to help us figure out the rest of this question. And we're doing that because our explicit formula helps us find any term. And a sub 1, our initial term, which is needed here, now that we know what d is going to be what we are looking for. So we know our d is going to be 200. And by using this a sub n here, right, we have a sub n with, let's pick an n. It doesn't really matter if you're 18 or 38, pick an n. So I'm going to say a sub 18 is going to be a sub 1 plus our d. So I'll just keep that as d for right now. And this is going to be 18 minus 1. So let's plug in what we know. This is going to be 3,362 equals a sub 1 plus 200 times 17. Now, when you multiply 200 and 17 together, you're going to get 3,400 plus your a sub 1. And remember, we're solving for a sub 1, so that means our a sub 1 is going to equal a negative 38. Now we know our d and our a sub 1, which is negative 38. We can fill in all the other missing numbers now to find both of our formulas. So starting with your explicit, it doesn't really matter what you're starting with, but starting with the explicit, we have a sub n equals our negative 38 plus our d of 200 times n minus 1. And this is fine to stop here, but you can simplify this a little bit. So we're going to have a sub n equals a negative 38 plus 200n minus 200, which simplifies further to 200, oh, I forgot my n there, 200n minus 238. And this is going to be our explicit formula. This is going to be our explicit formula. Now, finding our recursive formula is going to be terribly simple because all we got to do is just plug in some numbers. There's no more simplifying that we need. We're just going to have a sub 1 equals our negative 38 and a sub n equals a sub n minus 1 plus our 200. This is going to be our recursive. So you see, finding both of your formulas is going to be pretty simple, even if you're given only two arbitrary terms of your sequence, because you can use those terms to first find your d, and then now that you have your d, use your explicit formula to find your a sub 1. Once you have that and your d, just simply plug and chug and then simplify where necessary. Well, I hope you were able to follow along with today's video and hope you all are now experts at finding your explicit formula and your recursive formula, even if you're only given your two terms. However, if you have any questions about what you saw today or even on homework, you can always put in the comment box below or visit my Facebook page at Tutor Me Sempai and tell me all about it there. If you hadn't done so already, remember that like. It surely helps the channel by letting YouTube know that you found the video helpful. And if you found the video helpful, so can someone else. So leave a like, hit the notification bell, smash the subscribe button, and share the video with a friend. Well, that's all the time I have for today. I really hope this helped with your homework, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again next week. I'm Courtney, here's your playlist, and this has been another session of Tutor Me Sempai.